Welcome to Fleur Arms. This is Dragon 6 Golf here. Just want to make a quick video and introduce myself in the way of arms. What I mean by that is I want to share with you my experience with weapons and why I think I'm qualified to not only talk about them but also teach about them. So as a child, maybe starting around the age of 6, my dad would take me to the range with a couple of his friends. And they were all Vietnam veterans. My dad was in the Navy, his other two friends were, I believe, were in the Army. And the cool thing about these two friends is neither one of them had any girls, so I was their outlet to go hang out with the young man. And I would shoot anything from a .357 revolver, M1911, 45, 22 long rifles, 22 pistols, all the way up to a 30-30 rifle, cowboy style. And what they taught me was to respect the weapon. We always stayed after we fired them. We cleaned the weapons, we maintained it, they talked. We had fun, however, they all had their eye on me. Anytime I would do something that was unsafe, they would stop me and explain to me why. Dad was awesome because he never stopped them from doing that. He understood the importance. And I did that all the way up until high school. Now, once I graduated high school, I joined the Army. I was a tanker in the Army, joined in 1995. And this is where my real experience begins with military grade weapons. I remember the first time, or the first weapon we learned about was the M9 9mm hand or pistol. We didn't get to touch the weapon first. We looked through the manual. The instructor showed us what it looked like. He showed us how to do functions check. He showed us how to look it up in the manual. So before we even went on a range, the weapon would sit in front of us and we would take it apart, put it back together. I don't remember if we did the timing thing or not, like how fast we could do it. But they would always make sure that we knew how to clean it, we knew how to tear it apart, we knew how to maintain it, and we knew how to do functions check. And they explained why a functions check is a good thing. Now, functions check is once you take it apart, you put it back together, it tells you if you put it back together right. And there'll be a secret. Each weapon has its own kind of function check, but most of the time it's you cock it, you make sure the magazine comes in and out, you watch the when it's on safety, you watch the rise and fall of the pin block, and so on and so forth. And that's what ensures that you put the weapon back together right. And of course that's important because you don't want to go down range and have your weapon misfire or accidentally discharge or whatnot. So after we do all that, and that's like a whole day or two of just 8 hours of just constantly handling this weapon. And even before we handle it, there were several rules they gave us. One was assume the weapon is always loaded. Always assume the weapon is loaded. And that's important because the weapon doesn't know anything but what it's made to do, and that's fire a bullet. So it doesn't know if it's pointed towards something it's supposed to be pointed at or is even supposed to be fired. So you gotta have respect for the weapon that way. Second thing is they would tell you if you hand the weapon over to anybody, you have to clear it, and you don't hand it to anybody until it's been cleared. And then when you receive the weapon, you make sure it's clear. And what that means is, I don't know if you ever seen videos of, during an inspection, they get you M16 or M4 now, and they take it out, they charge it, and they look down, up, and then the receiving person looks down at it, and that's just to make sure there's not a bullet or in the chamber, to imply safety. So we finally go down range and we get, I don't remember how many rounds, but it was pretty cool. We got like 4 or 5 magazines. One magazine would have 1 bullet in it, the next one would have like 5, the next one would have like 4, and it was to get us to get used to dropping the mag without, you see in the movies where people drop the mag, but they catch it in their hand. Well, we would just drop the mag on the floor, grab the next mag, load it, and keep rocking. And we used this on pop-up targets. And then we did that, and the next day we would go out and actually qualify, and then qualified expert. I forget what the qualification was for that, but we did that for every weapon system we had. So next after that was M16. I think it was M16A2. Same process. Then we got to the weapons we had on a tank. We had an M240, which was a 7.62 millimeter automatic machine gun, and it was French made. We learned how to maintain that. We also did the same thing, went down range and learned how to do that. Then we learned the M2 50 cal heavy barrel machine gun, and this sucker is a beast. It's heavy. It's a World War II ever weapon, but man, does it work ever well. This one's a little bit tricky. You have to learn something called headspace and timing, which I'll talk about in another video, and that took some time to get used to. Not everybody could take it apart and put it back together right, and as hard as it was fun to understand that weapon. Then we finally, the last weapon system we learned was the actual main gun on the tank, and we learned how to take apart the cannon. We know how to clean it, and there's a lot into that. But anyway, you go through all that, and you're not an expert really per se on everything because it's just thrown at you, but you know enough to not hurt yourself. You know how to aim the weapon, and you know how to utilize the weapon. Then after that, you get to your duty station, and as a tanker, man, we went to gunnery like once a quarter, and gunnery is just, I'll explain that in another video. But anyway, I got to a point where I became a safety officer on the range, not only for small arms, which is the first weapons we talked about, but also for tank and combined arms, or what we would call CALFAX. And then I got promoted to the tower, where I'd be the guy at the tower evaluating the tank crew. So I was a tank crew evaluator, and that was pretty stressful, but it was pretty awesome to evaluate other crews. And part of that I'm pretty proud of. You had to be able to qualify for that position. First of all, you had to be an NCO, then you had to be at least a gunner, and you had to at least shoot expert twice in a row. Then you go to a little tank crew evaluation school, and it's a lot of work, but it was really, really fun. Then after that, I maintained my being in the military to about 2005. Had several deployments in there, several live fires, several incidents. So I know what it's like to fire the weapon and have somebody fire back at you. That's something you don't get at the range. It's something you don't get in any training, and something I'm glad I lived through. But you know, I'm glad I came out on the other side okay. Then after that, the last thing I've done was not only maintain to go to the range with myself or friends and family, where I always use the safety things that I learned in the past, but also receive my license to carry a handgun in Texas. And for that, you had to go through class for that. They had to make sure you're proficient in the weapon, you're proficient in the laws, and that you're fingerprinted by the FBI to make sure you're not a criminal. Of course, Texas now has it where anybody can open carry, and that's a whole nother video. But anyway, those are the qualifications I have. That's where I get my passion of firing weapons, the passion of taking it apart. It's where I understand safety. That's where I know how to take apart weapons. And not to mention nowadays, if you want to take apart any weapon, you can YouTube it nowadays and learn how to do that. But anyway, thanks for watching. This is Dragon 6 Golf out.